Hey everybody, my name is Raman Sabur. I'm the co-founder of RealtyNinja, and I just wanted to walk you guys through our webinar on how to get the most from your RealtyNinja website. So this is just a recording of me going through the slides offline. Nobody's actually attending this webinar for this version of it. I just wanted a place that has all the content from the webinar in case you can't attend and you just want to get the meat and potatoes of the thing. So this webinar is for people that have a RealtyNinja website but are not quite sure if they're doing everything in their power to get the most from it. It could be that you just signed up and you're not really sure how to get started, or it could be that you've had a site with us but you're maybe not getting the results that you were hoping for, and you just know that there's things that you should be doing that you're probably not. So that's what this webinar is for. I'll try to run through it. The actual webinar would be 45 minutes with Q&A and all that kind of stuff, but we'll try to get through these slides. So you can ignore this slide because this one says ask questions in the chat as you think of them. So there is no chat, so we'll just continue going. So high five, you've already been 10 steps ahead of everyone else just by having a RealtyNinja website. I mean, you're using something that's modern, mostly automated, already mobile friendly. It's a platform, so it's updating as technology evolves. So you're already ahead of the average agent. A couple quick stats. So about 50% of realtors still don't have their own website. And out of the ones that do, usually they kind of have a crappy one. So congratulations, like you're already doing great. So just keep that in mind as we go through these slides. But of course, this webinar is not about being average, it's about being ninja. So if you want to stand out and if you want to be ninja, your biggest challenge will be getting attention, standing out when everybody's fighting for attention. And so we're not just talking about realtors, we're talking about Facebook and Twitter and notifications and all these things that are fighting for the end user's attention. I mean, if they have dedicated only a certain amount of minutes or hours in their day for screen time, you're up against some of the big boys out there, including other realtors or real estate sites. So how do you stand out? This highlights a major supply and demand problem, in my opinion. I see, people are getting pounded with 10,000 times the amount of content they did just 10 years ago. So that's your biggest challenge. So what does it take to make a website truly ninja? Well, we've worked with thousands of realtors and we've seen some common threads amongst the most successful ones, and it really boils down to two simple rules. Number one, don't be generic. So yeah, don't be like that guy. Number two, create real value for your target audience. We're going to dive into these in much more detail. So your biggest opportunity. We talked about your biggest challenge. Now let's look at the flip side. What's your biggest opportunity? So technology is a double-edged sword. The opportunity is that now you have the ability to connect with thousands of your ideal clients online fairly inexpensively and drive them to your own corner of the internet, which you have full control over. So you can really, first of all, target the right people and then try to funnel them through whatever objective you have in mind for them to do. You can compete with seasoned agents and large brands just by utilizing modern marketing and technology. It's no longer expensive, it's no longer difficult. These things used to be reserved for the top performers or ones with huge budgets that could afford this stuff. Now an entry-level agent can be right up there in terms of their online presence and technological advances or advantages. Sorry, I can't talk. And number three, you can become the digital mayor of your city or town by producing high quality content and easily adding it to your website. So what does that mean, the digital mayor? Basically, if you look at the online space, there's certain niches that are crowded and certain ones that are not. And if you look at real life now in your industry, in real estate, there might be a couple top teams of realtors or individual realtors that are just dominating the market, but they're not really doing much online. So that presents an opportunity, especially if you're new, to really make a name for yourself and get the recognition online where people are just not focusing offline. So, a couple important questions before we get into tactics and individual things that you should be doing. Let's frame these things. So, who are you building this website for? I mean, the typical approach is just to have a brochure website with your face on it, your tagline, your listings and a contact form and some basic kind of generic stuff. And that's great. That's again more than most people are doing, but a truly ninja website is targeted. It's tailored. It's built for a specific person. So you're building for a specific person, a specific need. That influences the design that you go with, the writing. It's going to make your life a lot easier to know who the website is for, so you can write copy for them specifically in their language, with the imagery that appeals to them, stuff that's important to them, not just you. Essentially, if you target young millennial first-time home buyers in a bigger city, then the types of decisions you're going to make are much different than if you're targeting landowners in a small town. And so, what do you want those people to do once they get to your site? So, let's say you've got 100 of your ideal clients to your site. What do you want them to do? Where should they go? What should they click? What should they download? Should they call you? Should they meet you? Are you asking for too much right away? I always say it's just like dating. It's probably too much to ask for their digits right away without them actually knowing who you are. So you need to demonstrate how amazing you are before you ask for their contact info. And so one example of that is ask for an email address in exchange for something really useful to them. So if they're that buyer moving into a new neighborhood, maybe you're the one that creates the content about the neighborhood, the local businesses, schools, any changes, new developments, stuff that's really important to people that are going to be buying into that neighborhood. Crime stats or new community events or that kind of stuff. So you can give that information away for free in exchange for an email address and then work on the relationship from there. So essentially what you're doing is you're giving something amazing that's useful to them, and in turn, you're now the expert. You're now the trustworthy guy that or girl that is providing them with what they came for initially. It's what they were searching for. They didn't necessarily look for a realtor, but they were looking for that info, and then you can upsell them from there. So a truly ninja realtor website should do a lot of stuff beyond just being a pretty brochure. It's got to establish you as the expert. It's got to impress your sellers by showcasing their homes online properly with beautiful photos and nice layouts and SEO optimized and all that kind of stuff to impress them. It's got to show your experience, so sold listings, designations, anything, testimonials, like stuff like that, that really boosts and adds to the credibility that you claim. Highlights your areas of focus. So without really reading and digging through your site, people should know, okay, this guy focuses on these particular neighborhoods or these property types. It should create trust to break through the digital barrier. That's probably the most important thing, is just breaking through the digital screen barrier. You're a human and they're a human, but you have this technology stuff in between you. The website can really break those walls down and build trust. It should build new relationships, so generate leads from buyers or sellers that you've never met. It should maintain your existing relationships when you update your site with content. You got people coming back to it, links that you've shared on social media, news updates, how's the market doing. It should kind of be an information hub to maintain your relationships and mind share with people in your network. It should represent you 24/7 while you sleep. It should be that salesperson that's it's representing you the way that you would want to be represented in person, and it's often the first impression people have of you. It should also be measurable, so you can track the results of your efforts. I mean, if you're doing an ad campaign on a bus ad, how many, eyeballs looked at the bus ad, and out of those eyeballs in that given month, how many of those people are buyers versus sellers versus, a certain age or demographic or income level? Like, there's really no way to measure that stuff offline, but with technology, you can really hone in and see if your plans are working, and adjust course as you go along. And the biggest takeaway is to provide value for your target audience and not just make you look good. So your RealtyNinja website is like this sweet Ferrari. It's super capable, it's beautiful, it's incredible, it's amazing, but it still needs a driver. So if your goal is to win races with your sweet new Ferrari, you should do stuff. And so we're going to get into that. So here are some on-site tactics for optimizing your website. And on-site really just means things that you can do right on your website. So we're not talking about social media and that stuff. We'll get to that. But on-site tactics, there's some fairly basic stuff we're going to get through, and then I'll give you a couple more advanced stuff. So the biggest thing is content. Content. So blogging, content, or resources. People are like, what do I blog about? Or should this be a blog post or a page? Well, we always say, first of all, remain consistent. So you should be blogging or adding content to your site once a week. It should be useful or unique or novel or new. We have this HUN acronym. And when it comes to writing content, there's really two types. There's evergreen content, which is, tips when selling your home, or, a moving checklist. Those kind of things don't really change with time. And then there's time-sensitive content, which is like a new change in the mortgage rules that you should know about. Something that's time sensitive should be in your blog. Something that's evergreen should just be a resource on your page, on your website. So here's an example. Katie is blogging consistently. You can see in the archives she blogs once or twice a month. That's all you really need to do. I mean, if you want to go nuts and blog every few days, go for it, as long as you're committed and staying consistent. So another quick on-site tactic is to optimize your listing and MLS pages. So there's, thousands upon thousands of real estate websites in every major city in Canada, and they all kind of have the same IDX data. So the listings on there are not really unique in terms of the content, especially from like a search engine's point of view. They look at that site and they're like, okay, so I recognize this MLS content. I've seen it a bunch of sites. What makes this site better than the others? It could just be adding a description of the neighborhood to the top of the page, or a little video you made on your cell phone, or a little write-up, or a couple pictures you got. It doesn't take much to differentiate the page. So that's a quick one. You can just go to the top of your MLS pages and add a little photo and a little write-up. It doesn't have to be crazy. This already makes you in the top 1% of unique content on MLS pages. Another one is proper keyword and alt tag usage. Keyword is not probably what you think it is. So keywords used to mean these meta keywords that you would put into the code of your website so that Google knows what your website is about. That's just not true anymore. Google is smarter than that, and it doesn't care about the keywords that you put in the code. It just reads your content kind of like a human would, and then it tries to decide what your content is about. So if you're writing about North Vancouver real estate in your blog, and you have searches about North Van real estate, and you have photos of North Van, and you made a video, then it assumes that that's your keyword or your key target phrase or whatever. So it's just a matter of writing content that is written for your intended audience, and ideally that's targeted. So it's not like, Canadian realtor, like Vancouver realtor. It's more like, North Vancouver first time home buyer guide, or condos for sale in this particular neighborhood. So it's a little bit more focused, and those are kind of the keywords. Alt tags are alternative text that you put for images. Search engines are not as that smart yet, so they can't really tell exactly what's in a photo. Um, so you kind of help them out and you say, okay, this is a picture of me. My name is Katie Burkhardt. I'm a Vancouver realtor. So that alt tag there, we'll send you guys, a detailed guide on how to technically do this stuff, but that's what it is. Another kind of simple one that's often overlooked is just writing about yourself and adding some testimonials. This should just be like the first thing you do, but a lot of people just don't do it. And it's again breaking down that digital barrier and building trust. These people are going to hand over the largest purchase of their life, and they just want to know who you are. You'll be surprised how many times this is not done. And just making it simple, about, and then about you, and with your contact info and your picture and everything. Just really simple, really clean, and easy to find and easy to absorb. A huge one is calls to action. So CTAs for short. Basically, what a CTA is, it's a button. So imagine, you're looking at the cover of a magazine, and there's 100 pages in the magazine with all kinds of content broken up into sections and subsections. But on the cover, they only kind of highlight one main thing, like one article they really want you to read, and then like maybe four other ones that if you have time, you should also read these four other ones. And they just know that you're going to probably read the rest of the magazine after that. And so the same kind of logic applies with web design. If you're looking at your homepage, you want, one or two things you want people to really do. You're saying like, okay, if you only have 2 minutes, do this one really important thing. And so Thomas is saying, click here for my monthly market report. That's kind of his featured CTA. Smart of him because that means that you now are on his mailing list and you're going to get weekly or monthly updates from him. So that's his way of saying, hey, don't leave my site if you only just have a few seconds, do this one thing. And then, by the way, if you have some more time, you can search for these other things. And then the navigation at the top has links to everything else. So it's the same kind of logic with a magazine. So there's a bunch of stuff you can do off your website that will optimize your website. So we're gonna look at some of that stuff now. So SEO, SEO. It's kind of like this crazy term that people don't really understand, and there's so many different experts and articles on it that it's now just turned into a big confusing mess. But in a nutshell, it's everything you do on your website and off your website, such as social media, tells Google a story about you. And so what does that mean? Google's kind of trying to figure out what you're all about. So if you say you're a Vancouver realtor, it goes, oh, okay, this guy's a Vancouver realtor. There's, 23,000 of them. Cool. I'll just drop him on page 1400. But if you say I'm a North Vancouver realtor, then there's a smaller pool that you're fighting in for competition. So you're now potentially ranking higher in a smaller group of people. So you've narrowed down, you've focused down, and you're in a pond as opposed to the ocean. Um, so Google, to really understand that, it's not just looking at the text on your banner and taking your word for it. It's going to go look at things you're sharing on social media, what other people are saying about you online, everything that is on the internet that relates to you. They're trying to kind of build a mosaic of what they think you're about, not what you told them you're about. And then if that matches up with what you told them you're about, then great. So one of the things you can do right away is just get a bunch of backlinks. So what's a backlink? It's other websites on the internet that link to your website. That is probably the most important piece of the SEO puzzle. The place you can start is just your brokerage's site, your office site. Most of those sites have like a team roster. You can go in there and just say, this is my website. That's kind of the most basic thing. It's funny, like we looked at the numbers and something like 70% of realtors don't do that. And so that's a quick way to get a backlink. Another one is just to go into directories like Yelp and Rank My Agent and REW and Yellow Pages and all these kind of things. Your social media profiles, make sure they all link to your website's URL. And also you can guest blog. So that's kind of a cool way to get backlinks. So what you do is you reach out to websites on the internet or blogs on the internet that already have an audience, and you leverage their audience by giving them something valuable. So you reach out to the blog owner and you say, hey, I'm an expert on these topics, and I will write you a 500-word guest blog post, and all I want in return is just a little link at the bottom that says, interested in Vancouver real estate, visit my website. And the word Vancouver real estate links back to your homepage. So that's a backlink, and that's a quick and easy way to get a really good one, especially if the source is high quality. So that matters too. You don't want backlinks from websites that are sketchy or unrelated to your industry. They won't help you at all. They could even hurt you. Offsite social media publishing and engagement. So the big word here is engagement. Um, Google looks at how people interact with your content online. So if you're posting something on Facebook or sharing a blog post and it's just never ever getting shared or it's never getting commented on, you're tweeting but it's never getting retweeted, like basically Google saying, sorry, like nobody cares about the things that you offer, which sounds super harsh, but essentially it's trying to figure out, are you putting out meaningful quality content that people find you so useful that they're willing to comment and engage with you and share it? Or are you just blasting out about your open houses and nobody cares? So engagement is actually a huge part of SEO, which is often overlooked. There's two ways really to get, well, there's many ways. There's a bunch of ways to get traffic to your website. The two biggest ones are paid or organic. There's also referral traffic, which is like that backlink. But paid traffic is where you just literally pay for eyeballs. You go to Google and you say, hey, this is my budget. I'm just gonna pay for people to go to my website, and hopefully they do stuff, they convert. The other way is organic. You're saying, I'm going to build it first. I'm going to build this beautiful site, and I'm going to write all this content, and then I'm going to try to just cross my fingers and hope that enough people get to the site by finding it naturally in search engines. We recommend both. And so, especially if your website's new, so if you're a brand new domain, possibly a brand new realtor, nobody knows about you, nobody knows about your site, there's no backlinks to it, you don't have any social media engagement or even possibly profiles set up yet, um, I would recommend paying for maybe 1 or 2 months of traffic. And you don't have to do a ton of it, but just to kind of get the ball rolling, and see what sticks. And so that's my recommendation. You don't have to do that if you're on a budget. You could just write content on your site and get your listings on there, and then just market it offline or through social media in other ways. Most importantly, stay consistent. So in order to remain competitive, you need to stay in it for the long haul. I mean, especially if you are competing in a in a bigger kind of category with a lot of competition that's been there longer than you, that has more of a team or more resources financially and more ads. It's gonna take longer to get the results you want, but it's totally possible. My biggest recommendation is to make it focused for an intended audience as opposed to just everybody. Maybe that means splitting your efforts into different websites or different sections of your website for different types of people, resources for buyers or for sellers or for certain types of buyers, certain cities or neighborhoods even, as opposed to large cities. And the reason why I say that is, if I search for Vancouver Realtor in Google, I'm going to get the results that show up first on the first page of some of the guys that have been there for 10, 20 years. or some of the people that are really paying a lot for ads or content, or they have a team running everything. If you're an individual agent, my biggest piece of advice is start with what you know. Start with where you live or where you grew up or an area that you know well, and try to dominate a smaller market before you kind of extend yourself. So that is the quick version of how to get the most from your Realty Ninja website. There's obviously way more you can do. I didn't want to overwhelm you. You're probably doing the majority of the stuff anyways, but if you're not, that's a good place to start. If you want to continue along this train, the ebook is a fantastic place to go next. We have chapters in part two is all about your website, and we have chapters about what a white belt realtor website is, or yellow belt, and all the way up to black belt. So if you've kind of done the basics and you're wondering what's next, and if we're just going to tell you to go blog and update your contact photo, we're not. There's some super advanced techniques you can do to get even more out of your site, and they're covered in the ebook. Um, but it's also for new agents as well. So I recommend go check out the ebook as your next step. Also, we have the dojo, which is just realtyninja.com/blog. We update that, I believe, once a week or so with amazing modern marketing articles that are all related to real estate agents. So check it out there. They're all free. We're here to help as well. Yeah, just to kind of give you an idea of part two, some of the chapters, we look at the tools that you should use at each step of your client's journey. So if they're just kind of browsing or if they're actively looking to buy or sell, there's different techniques and tactics and tools that you can use to meet them where they're at and get the most out of those efforts. How to dominate your website, which kind of goes through some of the stuff we talked about here and more. And then a bunch of ideas and plans that you can use for your blog and how to target your website and get more traffic with the right keywords. And we really dive in on that chapter. So check it out. And normally, if this was a live webinar, we'd be taking a bunch of questions, but I think we will leave it at that. And thank you for sitting here and listening to me talk for 27 minutes. If you guys have any questions, just give us a call or reach out, support@realtyninja.com, or you can go 604-929-7969, and we'll do our best to help you. And yeah, thank you so much. Have a great day.